here. So I've been out tonight and I've had a couple of beers, so we'll see how this goes and what's going on. Anyway, tonight we're going to do Masters of the Universe, starring Dolph Lundgren. So I've heard about this film for a long time. I used to watch the He-Man cartoons when I was a kid. I wasn't like the biggest He-Man fan, but I would watch them. But I'd never seen this film. I hadn't heard anything that great, but I like cheesy films, I like old films, I like silly action films, so I thought, I might enjoy it. So I watched it, and yeah, it started off well. You have a daunting, haunting voice, you know, over everything. You got atmosphere. You got opening credits that look a bit PowerPoint, but they got a cool sort of Bifrost thing going on in the background. Darth Skelator arrives, accompanied by his Imperial Guard. Did you know Star Wars was a thing that came out? Yeah, this movie certainly knows Star Wars was a thing. This movie looks like Conan the Barbarian mixed with Star Wars. With a bit of Friends, but we'll get to that. The music's alright. It sounds a little bit like Superman meets Star Wars. Meets Star Wars is sort of a recurring theme here in this Master of the Universe film. So music's quite good. Skeletor arrives, as I said. Why does Skeletor look like that? He doesn't really look like a skeleton. He looks more like dripping cheese mold mixed with a bit of the Emperor. From a film called Star Wars that they're not quite sure if you've heard of, but they have definitely heard of Star Wars. They set up the conflict quite quickly, what's going on, that, you know, he doesn't like He-Man and all this kind of stuff. We get to He-Man, Dolph Lundgren. He looks the part, he's muscular, he's tall, there's far too much oil and shininess there. So that's alright. We meet his little sidekicks, and, you know, they're there. We meet the little elf guy. I don't know if he's meant to be the floating thing from the cartoon, maybe. But he sort of seems like he wandered off that Labyrinth film, you know, the one with Tim Curry and Tom Cruise. He seems a little bit out of that. They end up on our Earth with us, and Courtney Cox from Friends, and Tom Paris from Star Trek Voyager. Why do we care about them for so long, though? Why do we care? Because they have the magical musical key, and he is a magical musical teenager, so that will surely come in handy later. So the fight scenes are terrible. The big blue cat, lion, tiger thing, where is he? He's nowhere to be seen. I miss him. We should have had him, along with the proper little floaty thing, and maybe a story set in Eternia. Is it Eternia? I think it's Eternia. In He-Man time anyway. Some more of the Castle Grayskull stuff. Is he even the prince guy in this? I don't know, he never does the transformation. He's just scantily clad He-Man the whole time, whereas everyone else looks like they're in Star Wars. You've got a cop storyline about this sort of cop who wants to get the kids and the key and whatever's going on, and it's just boring. You just don't care. The cop gets a kind of comedy payoff at the end when he decides to stay in the fantasy land because retirement or something holds nothing for him back home. But really, he's just there to create unneeded conflict and problems for our kids. Speaking of the kids, they're not too insufferable, except at one point where Courtney Cox's character's dead mother appears in an alley asking her to bring her the key that they have spent the entire movie protecting, and she just does. She hands it straight to the enemy, of course, in disguise. And no one seems to be that angry with her about that. I would be very angry with her about that. What did you think it was? Your mother suddenly there? She needs the key. No, clearly the bad guys. Clearly the bad guys. So Skeletor is basically Darth Vader mixed with the Emperor. He has a sort of Star Wars-y looking war room. At one point, he assembles a team of mercenaries. Did I say bounty hunters? No, I did not say bounty hunters, Lawyers. We said mercenaries. Here's a big floating Emperor chair with red light that floats down. This movie has definitely seen Star Wars, and they want you to know that because Star Wars is fucking cool at this point, and they wouldn't want you to think that they hadn't seen Star Wars. At one point, he even shoots force lightning bolts out of his hands. That's how Star Wars he is. He falls down a giant pit at the end. You know, not a outdoory sort of pit. A big industrial never-ending pit. Someone gets thrown down it because Star Wars came out. That's pretty bad. Except he doesn't quite have the gravitas of Darth Vader or the Emperor. If I had made a film and a guy was meant to look like a skeleton, but we did such a bad job with the mask that it looked like melting wax, I wouldn't have that many close-ups of it. I wouldn't have any. I'd film them from the back. But they have loads of close-ups, to the point you can even see where the mask or makeup ends and his human neck begins at a couple of points. that's not really what you want in a film, is it? You don't want to see the makeup. And what did I think of Masters of the Universe? Starring Ivan Drago, Monica from Friends, and Tom Paris from Star Trek Voyager. I'm not going to give it a hell no, because there were some redeeming elements, I think. Yeah, I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole, pulling that thread too far, because we might end up with a lower rating. I'm going to give it a, was this movie fun? No. No, unfortunately it wasn't. It has promise. An 80s movie starring Dolph Lundgren as He-Man. It sounds good, it sounds right, but it just... I think they needed a bit more money. They could have set it in the He-Man world, or at least more there. Skeletor could have looked vaguely like a skeleton. It just could have been better. It was a movie based around a concept. They wanted to make a He-Man movie. They clearly couldn't afford to make a proper He-Man movie, so they made Masters of the Universe. And, you know, there it is.
Should be fun. Movie should be fun. Movie should be fun. Movie should be